Hey guys, we're going to talk about some angle basics. Angles are formed from two rays intersecting. Rays are lines that have a starting point but have no ending point. And where those lines meet are called vertexes. Okay? So, some basic angles that we're going to talk about, one that everyone should know. The first is what's called a right angle. And a right angle is an angle whose measure is 90 degrees. And sometimes you'll see right angles identified by the little box that's in the corner. And that symbol, we should know, means that that is a 90-degree angle. That angle has a measure of 90 degrees. The next type of angle is called an acute angle. And an acute angle is an angle whose measure is less than 90 degrees. And on this case here, I've got an angle whose measure is 30. Okay? So an acute angle is an angle whose measure is less than 90 degrees. An obtuse angle is an angle whose measure is greater than 90 degrees. Okay? And here I have an angle that measures out to be 120 degrees, which is larger than 90. So we should be familiar with those. What we may not be familiar with are called adjacent angles. And adjacent angles share the same side and a vertex. And you can see I have angles 1 and 2 here, and they both share the same vertex where they all come together down here, and they all both share the side with this line right here that's coming up. So adjacent is a good vocab word to know. It means, next to. Another type of angle is called a vertical angle. And vertical angles are angles whose measures are congruent, and those angles are right across from one another. And if you look at what I have here, I have two intersecting straight lines, and I have the numbers 1, 2, 3, and 4. So angle 1 and angle 3 are vertical from each other, and angle 2 and angle 4 are vertical from each other. Remember that a straight line would equal 180 degrees, so angles 1 and 2 in this case would be adjacent angles, and their measures would also have to equal 180 degrees, because that's how many degrees are in a straight line. And similarly, angles 1 and 4 would have to equal 180 degrees. And then angles 3 and 4 would have to equal 180 degrees, and angles 2 and 3, when they're added up, would need to equal 180 degrees. But remember that for vertical angles, angles 2 and angle 4, and angles 1 and angles 3 would be congruent or have the same measure. So then we move into what are called complementary angles. Complementary angles are adjacent angles whose sum is 90 degrees. And you can see here that I have a right angle as identified by the box, but I have a ray splitting that angle, in this case in half. One of the measures is 45 degrees and the other measure is 45 degrees. Okay? And 45 and 45 equals 90 degrees. And then the final kind of angle we're going to talk about is supplementary angles. And supplementary angles are angles whose measure equals 180 degrees. And you can see here I have a 160 degree angle, and then a 20 degree angle, and 160 degrees and 20 degrees equals 180. Well, that's it for angle basics. We're going to work on this in class, and we'll see you then. Os!
Adios!